So how do I get in the vortex? I mean, how do I get there? I know, I've heard what you've said.
Just for future reference.
Right.
Next time you say, look where I am.
Right.
Make sure you're in the vortex.
Okay.
Just teasing with you. So how do you get in the vortex? How do you get in the vortex?
How do I get it?
How do you get in the vortex depends on where you are when you ask the question. Because if you are really in a negative place, in other words, if you're feeling powerlessness, the direction of the vortex is revenge and anger, and the doorway to the vortex is an emotion of hope. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you're not even in the vicinity of hope. So the path to the vortex is a path that's laced with relief after relief after relief after relief. So when you say, how do I get in the vortex? How would you characterize your mood, attitude, emotional state of being when you ask the question? In other words, where do you think you are on the emotional scale as you ask that question?
Right this second?
As you ask this question, yes.
I feel really, I'm kind of high right now.
Well,
sorry, Mom.
Well, then your question was screwy.
No, but I mean,
then your question should have been, how do I stay in the vortex?
Oh, right.
But that wasn't what you said.
Well, that's because I formulated the question a few hours ago when I was driving here in traffic and construction. Listening to you spew off these processes that sounded so beautiful and happy while everybody was driving 4 miles an hour, and I thought, I'm never going to get the seat right in front. But then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I always get that parking spot right in front. So I just kind of lined up with the parking spot in the room in front.
So that's how you get in the vortex. That's exactly the process. You take what you're dealing with, you acknowledge that you're not where you want to be, and in this case you took it a little further. You acknowledged that you weren't where you wanted to be vibrationally, and then you imagined the negative repercussions of that, of not getting in the front row or whatever you were shooting for.
Right.
But then you sort of came to your senses and began building your own bridges to the vortex. In other words, you built your own bridge to feeling better. You said, even though traffic's not moving and even though there's construction, I always get a good parking place. I can pull parking places off whenever I want, and all this is a parking place for my physical body. I can get a parking place for my physical body. And then you sort of had fun with the humorous analogy that you'd carved out for yourself, and then you were in the vortex. That's exactly what the process is. You just find a pathway to it. As Jerry and Esther, they are using in most of these hotels, they like to come through the back of the room. It's just more comfortable for them and for you. And so they move through the kitchen and they use the service elevator. And Karen always finds the path and then goes and gets them the first time and leads them through the corridors of the belly of these big hotel whales that they are finding their way through. And so Karen had found a very good path for them, and they'd taken the path once or twice. And then a very helpful hotel worker saw them getting ready to get on the elevator, and the service elevator is really not ready for prime time. It's not. It doesn't look the way you'd like it to look. And as Esther said to Jerry, stand right in the middle of the elevator and lean against nothing, because there is a lot of dusty stuff in that elevator, and they're dressed in clothing that would show it very well to you if they brushed up against it. And so this woman, wanting to be helpful, said to them, you know, rather than this elevator, which you don't want to go there, she said, if you go out this door, there are the main elevators to the hotel. And Jerry and Esther and Karen all said, thank you very much, but we think we'll just stick to our plan. And so off they went and up to their floor of their sleeping suite. So then just now as they were coming down, now Esther is thinking about this very nice woman who has shown her another alternative. And Esther is thinking we could take the very nice elevator down, then slip through the door that she showed us at the last minute, and in we come. Then we get the best of all worlds, a beautiful elevator, and we can still enter through the back of the room. So as they got on the elevator and Esther pushed the button, Esther said, as long as that door is accessible from the lobby level. And sure enough, when they opened it, there was a keypad that you needed to know a code about. So they jumped back on the elevator and went back up and came down the route that they knew. But the reason that we tell you the story is because it's the way life always is. In other words, there are people, very well-meaning people, that are saying, come this way, come this way, come this way. And it's easy for you to, and nothing wrong with taking some of those routes. But what we've noticed in the majority of cases, when you follow the feeling that is, in other words, Esther knew, she could feel, as soon as they got on that elevator and she began to push that button, she felt resistance. And that's what made her say, unless this may not be the path of least resistance. And we think that what happens with a lot of you is that you don't trust your own guidance to lead you to the path of least resistance. But even more than that, you don't recognize, you don't realize, you don't believe, you don't know, you haven't shown yourself enough times to really get it, that the path of least resistance always feels really good. It always feels good. And so often you've trained yourself to put up with some of the stuff that does not feel as good, you see. So really, in a perfect world, now Jerry and Esther have had the experience of a elevator that serves them well, except that it's pretty creepy to be in. So that's a problem, isn't it? For which there is a solution that is queuing up. And that solution that is queuing up means that there are hotels that have service elevators that aren't creepy. There are clean service elevators in many hotels, which means as the process gets into motion, if this is something that really matters, and at this point it's not that big of a thing, but let's say they've been in creepy elevator after creepy elevator after creepy elevator. Let's say that it has been, and so it's something that really matters. If Esther is in her vortex, there will not be another hotel with a creepy elevator that is selected, because the vibration of her being in alignment with what she has put there mandates that everybody involved in this process cooperate to deliver to her not just a beautiful meeting room, but a beautiful service elevator as well. Now, there are many who would say, and the people in the back of the hotel would say, you were never meant to be on this elevator anyway. But Esther would say, there are a lot of people that are using this elevator. They could stand an elevator that's not creepy. So what we're getting at is, this is the way life is carved out. In other words, really an unimportant conversation that we're having relative to the elevator. But all day, every day, you're having exposure to life that's making you ask for things that if you ask the world at large, they would say to you, why are you making a big deal about that? Or this is the way you should cope with that. We have other ways that you could go. But what we're saying to you, the bottom line is that the universe at large is capturing every request, large and small, that you make, and holding it in a vibrational attitude that demands that the universe deliver to you exactly life as you have asked it to be, right down to the service elevator detail. Right down to it. You get every single detail. Now that's a lot to think about, isn't it? Ooh, wouldn't that drive you crazy if every morning Esther went through her list and way down at the bottom is think nice thoughts about service elevators? Can you imagine what a big checklist that you would need? Don't think about bullies. Think about the potholes. Don't think about construction in the traffic. In other words, if you had to go down every list of everything that you've been living just this week, it would make a mad person out of you. But you don't have to do that. You just have to go into the vortex. You see. Because the vortex is holding all of that in all of its detail. You see why we're so excited about you figuring out the importance of the vortex? And just like you brilliantly figured out how to bridge yourself into a seat, that's what we're talking about. That's how you get into the vortex. First, you make it important, and we think we have rung your bells about that. And next, you accept that everything so far that life has helped you carve out is there for you right down to the last detail. And then you just do your simple thing. Dance your way in, massage your way in, eat your way in. Don't really recommend drugs, but it is a way in. In other words,
I do.
good. Very good.
All right. Thank you.